walk through a storm. It is Anfield Agenda time. Craig is set for the day and the news. Sit back and relax, grab a coffee and chill, and enjoy the shenanigans tonight. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda. Time for Craig to tell it straight. Watch-alongs to fill your day. Make to subscribe and stay. Up the Reds, up the Reds. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda. Time for Craig to tell it straight. Watch-alongs to fill your day. Make to subscribe and stay. Up the Reds, up the Reds. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Oh, oh, ooh. Anfield Agenda. Anfield Agenda. YNWA. Anfield Agenda.
What is up, my friends? Welcome to 2025. Welcome to the first late night agenda of the new year. And thank you all for joining me. So, we've a lot to go through again today. I'm in a far calmer place, so I'm going to just let you guys lead the chat. We're going to go through and we're going to talk, of course, about the latest situation. We're going to look and remind ourselves that there is a January transfer window that we need to be productive in as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The officials for the game against Manchester United have been confirmed, and fair to say they're not going down well from the United side, at least from the journalistic standpoint. We'll talk about that. We'll give you the very latest on Trent, on Mohamed Salah, on Virgil van Dijk, and of course anything else that you guys would like to discuss. It is your show. So again, thank you to everyone for joining us. Do I like darts? Yes, I was watching it, bro, just before I came on. Bunting was 4-1 up just as I was going live. So I was I was hoping it would have been finished that game before I started the stream, but I'll record it, so it's all good. And best of luck to Stephen Bunting. Hopefully he gets over the line and gets the win. Right, so look, we will talk about Trent and Virgil and Mo. We'll talk about that. But I wanted to start this stream tonight in a more positive sense, in a more optimistic sense, with it being a new year, and ask you guys, do you think we're going to be active in this market in January? I think it could come down to what's available, to be honest with you. Liverpool will look at the market, and if the right move is there, we'll make a move. I feel, my take on it, I still feel the midfielder is an area of concern. Not because Ryan isn't good enough. Ryan Grafenberg's amazing. But we do need to be proactive for me in the window, especially in that position. So if we can get somebody in there, then hopefully we'll act. So let's go through and have a chat about it. Right, first super chat of the day. Sorry for my anger last night. Mate, you're not the only one. I wasn't in a good place yesterday. I probably shouldn't have streamed yesterday, but I did. Mistakes were made by everyone. A lot of anger in the stream last night. And look, it's understandable. It is an emotive subject. And like I've said many times around Trent, we're all acting from a place of fear and uncertainty. And, that pushes us to say and do things that maybe are a little bit out of character at times. Right, yes, if the right opportunity come up, says Shannon LFC. Defo not, said Toes. Well, let's start off with that as the poll tonight, We'll get into the contract stuff in a while, but let's just ask about what we need to do. So, So let's start off with that one. Do you expect any signings this month? Yes or no? And we'll go from there then. Whitehammer, this is a situation, mate, that has a lot of people confused, and I certainly include myself. Canada close to a new deal in October, still nothing. Yeah, but to be fair now, I could be wrong on this, but I think mainly it's been Romano pushing the new deal for Canada being close angle, at least to my recollection of it. You know, when I've been chatting with David or other people, I've always heard that it's moving in a positive direction, Ibrahim Canada, and I do expect it to be resolved, but I get where you're coming from. We are still sitting here and there's no contract renewals being done yet, and Canada was one that, as you've mentioned, mate, was thought to have been a relatively straightforward one. Petsy said, we need to give Duaz a new... Duaz? Well, he could be Duaz because he does it out there in the pitch, but we need to give Duaz... I've done it again. We need to give Diaz a new name. No, we don't. Right, I'm going to try that again and pretend I didn't just have that last 20 seconds. We need to give Diaz a new contract. See, I agree, but let me tell you why it's not a rush for Liverpool to give Duaz a new contract. He's got 2 and a bit years to go. So, but I do agree with you. He definitely deserves a pay rise from what he's on now. I think he isn't on 55. I think it is higher than that. I remember speaking with somebody a while back saying that he is on a relatively low wage, but it is higher than is out in the public domain. But yeah, I do agree with you that Duaz certainly does deserve a pay bump. He's been phenomenal. He was my man of the match in the last game. I thought he was incredible, and I thought he has been this season. My boy Duaz, yeah, there you go, yeah. Craig, are you on the Anfield Road end for Lille? No, we're in the Carlsberg dugout, towards the Kop end, well, the very, very end on the Kop side. So yeah. Happy New Year, everyone. Have a good one. Hopefully Liverpool win a trophy will make it even better, said Nick Safina. And yes, look, I hope you all had a lovely night last night. I know we were together up until about 10:30 or so, but I hope however you rang in the new year, it was a pleasant one for you. And our thoughts are with everybody over in New Orleans as well, by the way. I just noticed earlier on today what happened there, and I hope everybody makes as good a recovery as can be for those who are injured. But, you know, again, these are frightening times to see these type of things. So anybody in that neck of the woods, be safe. And, of course, we're all thinking of you guys. Right, so we're talking about transfer activity. We're talking about incomings in this window. At whatever point you guys want me to move on to the Trent stuff, let me know. I just didn't want to kick it off with the Trent stuff tonight because I think everybody probably needed a little bit of breathing space after yesterday, which was pretty much of a bombshell day. I thought yesterday was going to be a quiet one. I planned on taking it off, to be honest, and then all of a sudden the Trent stuff just came out of nowhere and moved very quickly. So we're going to talk a little bit about that again. It wasn't the shooting. No, it wasn't the shooting. It was somebody rammed through a crowd with a truck, unfortunately, which is extremely disturbing. And I believe there was a big college football game there today as well. So I hope everyone is safe after the incident. Sean Edwards said, expect nothing from FSG to avoid disappointment. That's where I'm at with the owners, mate, in the window, but you would think that there has to be something going on, right, behind the scenes with regards to a plan. Now, a lot of the stuff that I've read over the past few days kept talking like familiar phrases like Liverpool are looking to hold their nerve until the summer. So it certainly feels like there is a plan somewhere. We don't know what that plan is, but, you know, it feels like there's a plan internally anyway. And maybe the players that they want aren't going to be available mid-season. And that's understandable to a certain extent, but it's also risky for us in the title race, right? You know, one big injury now and we could have a problem. And I would never be somebody who would shout for a signing just because we have an injury. But we still have a couple of areas that I think most of us believe we could add strength and depth to even without an injury. Midfield, maybe centre-back. Certainly a lot of people thinking the left-back situation as well. Stevie Boy Said, the reality for me is all three go. I have no faith in the owners. Transfer window doesn't exist when it comes to Liverpool. So, I guess, if I'm to try and be optimistic back towards that, Stevie boy, how do we think that plays out for the owners in that scenario? So let's say we did no business. Let's say the boys don't extend. That's only going to hurt the bottom line for them, surely. Because it will see us fall away in the league. It will see us probably lack the ability to attract extra sponsors. Certainly, prize money will go out. They can't be that bad. Like, there has to be some rhyme or reason to all of this. But look, I do believe they're cheap. You know my take on that one. But I just can't see a world where they're cheap and stupid. That's the one word I never usually accuse them of is stupidity. But I guess letting these contracts get to this point is certainly taking your eye off the ball, to say the least. Sudipta, thank you for your super chat, my friend. Said Cody Gakpo is silently becoming a very underrated player. He is, and you know what, mate? I'm asking myself, what is the best front three now? You know, I'm looking Diogo Jota back, and I'm thinking, right, do you put Diogo straight back in through the middle? But the balance and the attacking prowess that Diaz and Gakpo and Salah give us when they're together, I mean, it's certainly going to give Arne Slot some good options. And I think Diaz, there's one game I didn't think he was great through the middle, but I think the more he's playing in the position, the more you're seeing him go from strength to strength. And his versatility is tremendous. So yes, Diaz has been doing very well. Stevie Boy said, sell the club. Mate, you know my take on that. I would be right behind the sale from these owners, but I don't think it's going to be forthcoming, mate. I think that, look, if you want me to be honest and give you what I think is going to happen is, if something pops up during this window that they think is good value, we'll do it. If it isn't there, we won't, and they'll run the risk and hope that we stumble over the line and win the league. That's how I feel about it. I also don't buy into the plans for the summer. I don't buy into the war chest because, you know, there's always a promise of a brighter future in the market and we never seem to live that reality. It's a really difficult situation for us as fans, right? Because on the pitch, I think we're all happy. You know, we're seeing Liverpool do what we want them to do. We're going deep into the Champions League. We're in a good position. But it's about strengthening when you're in that good position, right? And it's about this not being a one-off season where maybe Liverpool go and win the league because others haven't been at the standard they were before. It's about building on this. And when you're at your most attractive, trying to go out there into the market to bring players in as well. The LFC Reaper. I think this is a very valid thought process, mate. And it's a question I'm definitely asking myself a lot as well. I'm intrigued as to what our goalkeeper situation will be next season. I feel very comfortable in saying Kelleher will be sold. I'm really confident and comfortable in saying that Caoimhín Kelleher is going to be sold. Because of the contractual situation and because I think he wants to go and play first team football, which again is understandable. But we're not going to see the full value and benefit of that either, as my wife leaves the door wide open and lets all the heat out of the room. So yeah, even that situation frustrates me because Kelleher should be worth more money than we're going to get for him because he's only got 1 year to go in his contract. So even that frustrates me. I've struggled to see a rhyme or reason to FSG. I don't understand what the thought process is. You know, it's weird for me, and yeah, I don't know. Look, we'll talk about loads of stuff tonight, and I want to get through some of the news as well, because there is quite a bit to get through. Want to start off a little bit on Calvin Ramsey. Jack Lusby's reporting that Calvin Ramsey's loan at Wigan is looking likely to be cut short. He hasn't made a matchday squad for the last 9 championship games. And if he's not even getting into a matchday squad, there's just no point in him being there on Wigan at loan. The whole point is for Calvin Ramsey to go and get minutes and get experience, and then, you know, Liverpool make an evaluation from there. So, yeah, it looks like he's going to move, and it hasn't really worked, has it, since he's come down from Scotland? Between injuries and loans not really being one that he's able to convince managers to play him in, you got to start thinking longer term, what are we going to do there as well? Ahmed said, Craig, if we ought to win the league along with some other trophies, do you think Trent and Salah, will want to stay? And what are your thoughts on the Trent and Salah situations? So here's my fear as a fan. I don't see how you can let the Trent situation continue to just be silent between now and the end of the season. I think what's likely to happen there is, and this applies even if we keep winning, I think it will turn. The crowd will turn. People will get frustrated with no movement and no action. And at the moment, we've seen the destabilising attempts by Real Madrid. We've seen them in the media. We're going to talk about them again tonight. And they aren't going to go away until we know what we're dealing with. And if Trent does want to go at the end of the season, like I've said all the way through this, I would think it would be best for him to say it. And then Liverpool fans have between now and the end of the season to come to terms with it, to figure it out, and see how they feel. Because I don't think there's a right or wrong way for any particular fan to feel about the situation other than confused right now or anxious right now. So that's what I think the Trent situation will happen. With Mohamed Salah, I'm pretty confident he stays. I'm very confident he stays. But there has been a bit of a disturbing report today, and I'm going to move on to that in a second. And it kind of, if true, because I have to say if, it makes PSG out to be a bit of a liar. Because this report that we posted on the Anfield Agenda X account said, Paris Saint-Germain want to sign Mohamed Salah this summer and are offering him a 3-year deal worth £500,000 a week. Sorry, that's a lie. €500,000 per week. Liverpool have reportedly only offered Salah a 2-year deal worth €400,000 or £350,000 a week, which is pretty much what he's on now. So the thing here is, I don't think it's about money for Mo. Excuse me. And I don't think he's going to uproot his family for the sake of 70 or 80 grand a week to go to an inferior league. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, if there's a situation where Mo wants a longer contract than maybe Liverpool are offering, then we can evaluate that a bit differently. But I would even go as far as to say, if I was Liverpool, I'd still give up on the amount of time, if that was the sticking point, because all else fails, you may move him on. If you got 2.5 great years out of Mo and then he does start to decline, maybe then you look to get a small fee and move him on somewhere else. I don't know, but getting him signed up has to be the priority. Now, there's lots of optimism in the media today as well about the idea of Virgil and Mohamed Salah renewing on 2-year deals, and I'll move on to talk about that in a little bit. Right, some super chats to catch back up on. Do you think Ben Doak has a future at the club? And that's from Adam. So, I used to think yes, until I spoke with David Lynch. And I asked David Lynch about Ben Doak and what he's doing at Middlesbrough. And I was kind of surprised that he wasn't overly optimistic that Ben Doak will have a chance to succeed at Liverpool. It's kind of more like they're putting him out there to build him up and then get a fee for him. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, by the way, I don't. I still think it's early days for him, but he does have something about him that makes him stand out and a little bit different and get you on the edge of your seat. But whether that's going to be at a consistent enough level, I don't know. But I did not expect that to be the answer when I asked Adam. I thought it was going to be more a case of we'll see how he develops and make a decision from there. Monkstown Glass said, do FSG have money? Yes, they do. And more importantly, they have the ability to borrow if they needed to. And don't forget, they've also brought in and sold off minority shares and freed up cash there as well. So I do think they have the money. And look, if they don't have the money, that's probably a bigger concern, in all honesty, than whether they want to spend it or not. But ultimately, I don't think it's really about FSG as much as it is about Liverpool, the club, having the ability to access transfer money or even a loan if needs be. So yeah, I do think the ability's there to bring money into the club, but they just don't seem to have a willingness to be overly generous with the spending. Surely Hughes gets sacked before the summer, said Liam B. It's so difficult for this one to gauge because I don't know. I don't know what he does day to day. I don't know how he's perceived behind the scenes at the club. I don't know what his daily work is like and if he's impressed the higher ups or not. I haven't got a clue on it, mate. But I can understand why people are starting to question what has he been doing, because not a lot by the looks of it. Somebody said, how's the new Renault? I don't know, I haven't got it yet. It's a bank holiday, mate, so nothing's open, no garages, nothing like that. Hopefully should have it by end of the week, all going well, maybe starting next week, but look, no rush on it. Thoughts on Kudus in the West Ham game? Would be a great Salah understudy that can play across the front three, and we need another left-footed forward. Unsure whether we do the defensive work needed in our system. Talent-wise, absolutely no doubt about him having the ability, Kudus, but when I've watched him, and granted it hasn't been as much as I probably should if I'm going to talk about him, I've always seen a spark in the final third, but not always a willingness to track back and do the dirty stuff. Which is one of the things, by the way, Salah's extremely good at. Can United get relegated? I mean, it's not impossible, Victor, but I very much doubt that will be the case. I'm sure that they'll find a way to cement their place in the middle of the league table. Dave said, I'm tired of these contract talks. We just need to get things done ASAP. We all are, but it's only going to get worse as the month goes on. And this is what I've tried to warn about for the past couple of months. You know, now the floodgates are open. Now it's open season, because our boys are now legally able to negotiate, enter into pre-contract agreements with clubs outside the Premier League if they so wanted. And look, I guess the common sense answer is, well, they probably won't. And that may be true. But it's also a big leap of faith again from the club to keep thinking that their love of the club will stop any potential turning of their heads. You're right, it needs to be resolved, Dave. It needs to be resolved quickly. Another super chat I want to get through here. 1 second. Sufyan Khan said, do you believe that Trent hasn't made up his mind? No, I don't. That's as honest as I can be about it. I'm very much in the camp of thinking that Real Madrid don't come in with an offer in January if they haven't got some encouragement from Trent's side. I just don't. I can't get my head past that. And on that, actually, let's talk a little bit about what people have had to say on this one. So we'll start working backwards and we'll give you some stuff from the Spanish side, which is always going to be overly optimistic and looking at in Real Madrid's favour. They say optimism in Madrid regarding the Alexander-Arnold situation is high. They aim to finalise an agreement with him as soon as possible to avoid any last-minute surprises. Another one from George or Jorge CP Con said, all that remains for Trent Alexander-Arnold signing is for him to move to Madrid is just the signature. Something that could happen in the first days of January, according to this piece. Then we go to Chris Bascom, obviously a very good, reliable English journalist and somebody who covers Liverpool very well. Chris Bascom said, Liverpool are prepared, I'm not saying this right. Real Madrid are prepared to pay £20 million for Trent Alexander-Arnold in January. And that's kind of where I went with the title of tonight's stream, because I think this is an interesting jumping off point for us. And I wanted to get your take on it. Why is it that lately Google have been messing up and just shutting down YouTube every half hour randomly? It's weird. My chat disappears. Every half hour or so they boot me up. So anyway, what I wanted to do tonight was talk about the offer, because Chris said that Real Madrid are willing to offer £20 million. But Melissa Reddy said that they're willing to offer upwards of £20 million. So I guess what I'd like to ask you guys is there a number this month that you think Liverpool should entertain? Or do you think it's very much a case of, no, we need Trent, there isn't a number? You know, let me know your thoughts on it, because remember, he's got 6 months to go, so you're never going to see 40, 50, 60 million pound. But you also got to ask, what's it worth to Madrid to get him in early? Because, you know, Maybe their Champions League campaign could hinge on it. Maybe the La Liga race could hinge on it. I don't know. Endry said 20 million is not enough. The offer is a joke, said Yusuf. I mean, honestly, I think it's a fair offer. I'm not saying we accept it or don't, but I think £20 million is a good jumping off point for a player that has 6 months left on his contract. I thought they were going to come in lower initially. I thought maybe €15 million was where they'd be at. The LFC Reaper said, can Trent just come out and make it clear? That's all everybody wants, and me included. It is just to come out and make it all clear. So, remember, the poll that we have up is, do you expect any signings this month? And it's not looking optimistic here, folks, I won't lie. The answers are still coming in. We'll let it get to 2,000 votes and then we'll end it. But so far, you're not feeling optimistic on it. Ellis Moore said 30 million and he's gone. Sam Jam said no number. Kieran said it's 20 million pure profit, to be fair. And that is an interesting point you've raised, Kieran. It is pure profit, you're right, because he came through the academy system. But we're not really in a position that we need to bank the pure profit, if you get me, from the point of view of PSR calculations or anything. But it is a very valid point you've raised. Do you believe money is a factor for Trent? No, not really. I think like as much as it will be a factor for anybody, I think it's a factor, but I don't think it's the driving motivator for Trent in this negotiation. No, he's going to want to be paid what he feels is a fair reflection of his ability and his stature, but I don't think it's the defining thing. No, I do think legacy is probably what's driving him on, if I'm being entirely honest. Because I think anybody that gets to this level and plays at the level Trent's at, that talks about wanting to win a Ballon d'Or, you've got to be a confident person. You've got to back yourself, and yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely not money for me that motivates him. But you know, I don't know the man, so. Harry Klein said Trent won't come out because he's scared of the backlash. But I don't think that backlash is going to go away. I think that if he stays quiet, because let me just picture a scenario, right? There's a world where the best case scenario for Trent is he stays quiet and Liverpool continue winning, and Liverpool win the league and whatever else they may win, and Trent makes his announcement closer to the end of the season and sails off into the sunset. That's one possible outcome. But there's another one as well, which is Liverpool start to have a little wobble maybe, which could be nothing to do with Trent's form, but it will end up with people turning on Trent, and it will end up with all of us discussing this destabilising the dressing room and ruining the harmony, and it will be piled on by the media and it will be piled on by opposition fans, and you won't be able to move for column inches talking about the distraction. And these are all things that are purely avoidable and shouldn't have been allowed to happen. So at this point, Liverpool just have to make the best of a situation they've made themselves. But I would like a resolution quickly. I don't see a world where match-going fans are going to look at Trent week in, week out, keeping quiet, saying nothing. I just don't think that's realistic. I think they're going to start to get annoyed. In fact, I know they're already starting to get annoyed by it. Charlie said, sorry, if Trent walks out, I'll take a cookie pie for him. There you go. I think a little bit more than that, mate. A little bit more than that. So look, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you guys, is really quickly run through everything that I've got down in my notes and read today, and then we'll take the conversation from there. So we're nearly at the time to end this poll, so a couple more votes and we'll end the poll. So couple of things, folks. If you can, hit that like button for me. I'd appreciate it if we can get up to 1,000 likes. That'd be amazing. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button as well. Poll's almost at 2,000 votes, so I'm going to give it 2 secs and then we will end that one and give you the results. So the question was, there we go, do you expect any signings this month? And with just over 2,000 votes, 65% of you guys say no, you don't expect any signings. 35% are saying yes. That's it's grim, isn't it? To be honest, like, it is grim, because remember, we did have a quiet summer in that regard. James said, it doesn't make sense for me for him to leave halfway through the season, especially with Liverpool looking like favourites for the double. I can totally understand that, James. I have a different perspective on it, but I can understand your perspective, or anybody else's that thinks that way. I'm of the mindset, mate, that I think we're just making a potential headache for ourselves. Let's say we get drawn against Madrid in a Champions League quarter, semi-final, over 2 legs. I think that's all the game's going to be about. That's all the media is going to be talking about. That's all. It's just going to be all about Trent. Will he put in 100% effort? Will we be able to play him and trust him? Will the Real Madrid fans start to turn on him, let's say, then, if he's going there but then he beats them? I just think, again, it's another big headache that shouldn't be happening. But again, I do appreciate where you're coming from. This one said, do you think Trent's following how Mbappe went to Madrid and getting huge transfer fee but pay him it in wages? I can see other players doing this. Look, Trent and any other footballer or any other person that's contracted to a club is only obliged to stay for as long as the contract. When the contract's up, they've given the service to the club and they go off about it. Sometimes on a free contract, sometimes, you know, they get a fee and they move on. But either way, it's his career and his decision. But with this decision also comes a response. And if you really are about legacy and your future, well, surely you've got to bring into that equation the situation where you're back in your home city and you're sniggered at and you're not really looked at in the same way. You got to weigh that up as well. And I've no doubt, whatever you think about Trent in this situation, I'm sure it's a very difficult one for him. But I can't help but feel his head's been turned personally, because there's been too many opportunities to put stuff to bed. Even just simple things to say, the market stories are a lie, nothing's that far along. I'd like to see some of that type of stuff come out, but this is not the real world occasionally when we talk about what we want as fans. Thank you, my friend, for this one, Whale Galley, as well. You didn't put in a comment. I don't think you can actually on that one, but thank you. Appreciate your support. Right, so as I mentioned, I'm going to fly through these stories. And I'm going to start off in, I guess, chronological order for me with how I got these stories today. So I'm going to go through them all. There's a lot to go through. So Liverpool are braced for interest in Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold to be stepped up as clubs from across world football now circle over potential pre-contract agreements. That from Paul Gorst of The Echo. This also from Paul Gorst. He said, it's understood Liverpool remain locked in negotiations with the representatives of all 3 players. With no agreements yet in place, the prospect of them leaving as free agents later this year remains in play as things stand. Then we spoke about the PSG offer to Mohamed Salah of a 3-year €500,000 per week deal. Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk are both expected to extend their Liverpool stay by a further 2 years. That's coming from David Ornstein on NBC. And look, that is positive. If that's the case, I think we'll all be very happy. You know, as we start to get these deals done and boxed off, I think we'll all start to calm down a little bit. But, you know, David Ornstein saying that they're expected to stay for another 2 years. I'm more than happy if that's the case. Then Chris Bascom's story, where he said Real Madrid are prepared to pay £20 million for Trent Alexander-Arnold in January. George C. Picon, or Jorge C. Picon, said all that remains for Trent Alexander-Arnold signing for Madrid is the signature, something that could happen in the first days of January. Then, again, optimism in Madrid regarding Trent is high. They aim to finalise an agreement with him as soon as possible to avoid any last-minute surprises. Then there was a strange one that caught my eye today on Sky Sports, and it was about Omar Marmoush. This piece here said, according to Sky Sports, reports that Liverpool are interested in signing Marmoush are wide of the mark, despite the repeated links. So they're saying Liverpool haven't got the interest in Omar Marmoush. That is certainly not what we believe to be the case, and others that we've spoken to, but again, let's wait and see. Melissa Reddy then has been speaking on Sky as well, and this is what Melissa had to say. Real Madrid wouldn't have made an offer to approach Trent without encouragement from the player's end. It is important to underline that it doesn't mean he wants to leave in January. Then she went on to say, Alexander-Arnold is in the middle of a negotiation and it benefits him to have Real Madrid show their hand, to have Liverpool fight for him, for his boyhood club to know Real's intentions and make him an offer worth considering. That line worries me. Because if Melissa Reddy's right here, the insinuation is that any offers that have been put to Trent aren't even worth considering. Team Talk then have said, sources have claimed that Real Madrid are growing increasingly confident that they can sign Trent Alexander-Arnold. Liverpool rebuffed an approach from the La Liga side on New Year's Eve. However, it is said that Madrid have confidence and evidence that a deal is on the cards after their first contact with the Reds. Another article said that Liverpool have identified 2 players as options if they do move on Darwin Núñez. Those players are Alexander Isak and Marcus Thuram. But the £150 million valuation for Isak is said to be laughed at as being too high. And here's what I mentioned at the very start of the stream. Samuel Luckhurst, who covers Manchester United and all things Manchester, said the referee should be mute this weekend for the game between Liverpool and United. But a beggar's belief, the PGMOL have chosen Michael Oliver to officiate Liverpool versus Manchester United. Oliver was on a power trip with Dalot's red card at Anfield last season and responsible for one of the worst ever VAR interventions for West Ham's penalty. So there we are. That's pretty much a rundown of most of what's been said today in the media regarding Trent and, well, everything else related to Liverpool. So let's go through some super chats I've missed and catch back up on them. What's this one? Fans complain about frees but complain about selling. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I'm very much of, if you don't want to be here, I'd sell you and move on. Excuse me. And plan for the future. You know, that's where I'm at, mate. But look, I understand others that have a different perspective. Man United, HQJ said, Happy New Year, bro. All the best for 2025. Honestly, what do you think Trent is going to do? Do you think he wants to stay or wants a new chapter? Again, without knowing, my feeling is that he wants a new chapter. Because I think it could have been put to bed if he didn't. And either way, I feel comfortable in saying this as well. He's damaged his legacy one way or the other now. Even if he stays, I mean, we'll move past it, but he'll never be held in the same esteem by some. And look, people may argue with me over that, but I think I'm right in saying it. Not everyone, but I think a lot of people will feel like he's made this situation trickier than it maybe should have been. If we lose any of the 3, we should be FSG out, said DCP. And thank you for that one, mate. So, I'm laughing here a little bit because we've spent and we will spend a lot of this market and this window talking about the contracts, which gives them a free rein to get by without spending money again. And that's what I don't want to happen. I don't want us as fans to let them off the hook by just being obsessed about getting the contracts renewed. Because that's a bare minimum. And I think that will play right into the owner's hands. I think we need to be more outspoken and demanding that Arne gets given every bit of support he can in the market. Just sell Núñez, Kelleher and Trent and buy Isak. I don't know. Sorry, I need to cough again. On the Isak thing, I wouldn't be going near him at that price. I wouldn't. In all honesty, I wouldn't. He's not robust enough for me, for the Premier League, to feel like we can rely on him to be fit throughout a season. And 150 million, if that is the actual price, it's just too high. He's a very good player, but not 150 million pound. Craig, can you remember any superstar striker at 32 age, the likes of Salah, has to go through all this to renew his contract? Why is he disrespected? It's a joke. It's an absolute disgrace, mate. To play devil's advocate, Wally, I can imagine a world where Liverpool wanted to see how we got on this season and wanted to see if there were going to be signs of any fall off. I think most of us can say we could at least make that argument. But that question's being answered emphatically. And what he's doing is remarkable. And he shows no signs of dropping off. Look, we've benefited to some extent by him not having as many international games or call-ups. Let's be honest about that as well. And we've been able to give Mo a rest at times. But we should be able to do that anyway, moving forward. He shouldn't have to play every single game. So I'm with you. At this point, mate, I think you'll struggle to find a Liverpool fan that doesn't feel like this is a piss take and that the owners are not only being cheap, but are being disrespectful to Salah at this point. Absolutely, let Trent leave for free in the summer. Any fee for him will just go towards FSG spending it on the Boston Red Sox. In my humble opinion, FSG out. I don't believe any money from Liverpool goes over to Boston to the Red Sox. I've got, as much as I am FSG out and as much as I am FSG are very cheap, I've got to be honest in what I know to be the case, and I don't think that is the situation at all. But there are some questions that I do have around what the wage bill encompasses and who's included in that I wouldn't mind a few answers to. Tipsy Dipsy said, think Stevie G needs to get in Trent's ear. Well, he might be getting his P45 soon, Gerrard, but it looks at how things are going for him over in Saudi. So, look, I think Trent has enough examples of people who nearly left or who did leave to know how this may play out in his future. But let me say this about Trent, and I'm being sincere when I say this. If he goes to Madrid, I don't think it's going to be without its drawbacks for him. Because it's all very well and good saying go over there and play with your mate Bellingham and everything's grand and you get out of the melting pot of, you know, the microsoft being on you in Liverpool and all this other stuff. But it could be a very lonely place if things don't go great for him, or if he makes a few mistakes, or if Madrid fans turn on him a little bit and they're calling for Carvajal back in. I just hope that whoever is advising him has painted him all these pictures. And I hope that it isn't just people in his ear looking for a payday and wanting to make more money off him. But I struggle to see why he wouldn't have extended yet. I can't figure it out. So that leads me to think he's off. But again, I don't know. I'm just giving you an opinion. Craig, how do I get in contact with you? So, I guess it depends on what it's about. And that's not a smart arse answer. I'm going to give you the reason behind it. If it's a business inquiry, they go to Connor's email address, which is partnerships@AnfieldAgenda.com. If it's something on a personal level, or you just want to ask me a question or something, contact@AnfieldAgenda.com. Contact@AnfieldAgenda.com. If it's to abuse me or in any way horrible, then please don't. Danny said, Trent is not leaving. He's consulting Madrid to get the best salary offer. This gives him leverage to negotiate a similar amount from Liverpool. Do you think we haven't weighed this up, mate? Like, with all due respect, Danny, do you think that I'm not clever enough to have thought that through as well? I feel, mate, for the sake of a few extra thousand, he's damaging his own legacy, if that's the case. Like, if he wants to stay, he can see what channels are talking about. He can see what fans are talking about. He can see how it's being perceived. He can see how his actions are being judged. It's not worth it. That's my take on it anyway. Madrid looking at Diogo Dalot. Well, not only him. There's Diogo Dalot. There was the Spurs right back as well that they were looking at. But I don't know what to say to you. You know, I wish I could sit here and say to you, yeah, you're right, Madrid are going to go sign somebody else. But if Madrid are even starting to hint at another right back, it's to put more pressure on Trent, not because they genuinely want to get him. It's like, well, we have other options here, you know. This is a battle for hearts and minds. And I'm going to ask you guys a question in the next poll that I meant to ask yesterday, but I'm going to ask you now, so bear with me. So the question I'm going to ask is, and again, sorry if I've worded this weirdly, I think it's straightforward enough though. Do you think the English media should push back against the Madrid stories? Because I do. You've seen what Madrid are doing. It's a battle for hearts and minds. Make no mistake about it. That's what this is about. And Madrid are pushing. And I think our media should be pushing back. That's my take on it. I'd like to see a bit more ballsiness from the Liverpool side and the journalists. And a little bit more of the calling out of Marca and stuff that I think some of these guys and girls perceive to be lies. I'd like to see it called out a bit more. Because it feels at times like Madrid are just given free rein to go and bully their way in to do whatever the fuck they want to do. And say whatever they want to say and have their accounts and media's companies just do their bidding for them. I don't like a bully. And I feel like Liverpool need to stand up on this one and stand firm and push back. Right, the LFC Reaper said, who do we replace him with? I don't know. No idea. I've been honest about that one all the way through. I haven't got to thinking about it because I've been... I didn't want to admit he might go. You know, that's the honest truth. Bradley's there. Gomez is there. But regards to if we really do need to find a proper replacement, I still don't even know the answer because in my mind Bradley will be that guy. And if Trent stayed till the end of the season, let's say, and even if he did depart, I think that gives Bradley enough time to then get back up to speed and maybe he is the guy from next year and you bring through another young right back as an option. This one. Trent is no Hazard and we all know how this ended. Yeah, that Hazard thing was weird. Even on the unveiling day, if my memory's right, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost certain when they were unveiling a €100 million Eden Hazard, the Madrid fans were holding up signs saying we want Mbappe. That's at least a recollection I have of that unveiling. Raki plays. Welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, my man. Thank you. So, I'm going to ask for your help, ladies and gentlemen. And particularly our moderators, if I can. So, I've noticed a new trend that started to creep into, well, my chat and other chats over the last few months. And it's people coming in to shit stir and lie and bait me or other content creators. So, if you see it going on in the chat, if you see somebody coming in and saying X and Y did this or X and Y did that, or Craig, what do you think about what this person said? Ban them for me, if you'd be so kind, moderators. Because I love the harmony that we have in our group. And I don't want a repeat of last night. I don't want a repeat of it from me. I don't want a repeat of it in the chat. And I don't want a repeat of the situation. Because it benefits nobody. Now, I want to take this chance once again to say that I emailed Hussam a sincere apology again last night. Because I was in the wrong. I bit on a comment that I shouldn't have. That was a lie. And I apologised via email and publicly. And he's very graciously accepted that apology. And I appreciate that sincerely. And I won't forget it. I owe him one. But it got to me a lot. Because the innocence feels like it's gone. I used to take every comment in the chat at face value. All of them. And I used to think people were always on the level because this was our little safe chat and space. But, you know, I guess I got to be a bit more hard-nosed at times on stuff like that now. So just wanted to bring it up really quickly and again, acknowledge it and thank you for your support. Right. DCP said, we need to be strong and let FSG know we will not allow players to keep going for free and these three are the best in their position. It's crazy, mate, because I think somebody raised this point yesterday, and I've brought it up at times before as well. To be told that these owners need to make every penny count, right? And to be told that we're super clever and we look into the data and all the other stuff, and then see player after player walking out the door free or nearly free, it doesn't really add up, does it? You know, if you want to maximise and make every quid count and reinvest every penny back in, then you've got to be bringing in more in transfer fees for players that you know aren't going to cut the mustard. That is something that I have struggled to figure out and get to grips with, and I think others have as well, because it doesn't really back up the argument of making every penny count. Well, Gali, thank you, mate, for gifting 10 memberships as well. And Rachel, you gifted one a moment ago as well, Rachel, so thank you for that. Oh, and Rachel, if your good partner can't home that particular painting I was in touch with to its intended target, I'd be very open to buying it off him if he was in the market to do so. Just wanted to put that out there. I know the plans that James, as you refer to him, has for it, but if it doesn't work out, I'm a happy buyer if that's on offer. Craig, would you have Delap at Liverpool? No, I wouldn't. I mean, let's be honest. If we sold Darwin Núñez and we brought in Delap, I mean, I'm sure I'm being harsh on the kid here, by the way, but it's not going to be. No, not for me. I think that there are other options out there. It might take a couple more years looking at Delap. Maybe I'm just slow to this, by the way. I'm open to that as well. Craig, can you see a scenario where Liverpool fans will burn Trent's kit? I can see a scenario where the kit gets burnt and they profess to be a Liverpool fan. But, look, I'm petty. So asking me these questions are probably not... I'm probably not the right person to ask, because I've got a Trent Alexander-Arnold shirt on my wall right now. Right over there on my wall. And if he goes to Real Madrid, at the very least, that will be coming off the wall. What happens after that, I can't say just yet. But at the very least, if he moves to Madrid, that's coming off the wall, because I don't view him as a legend, an icon anymore. But look, I don't like seeing that response publicly from people. What you do in your own house is your own thing, you know, but I don't know. No, I would never encourage fans to do that or anything like that. No. But I do think fans have a right to let him know how they feel. That James is not husband. I'm very confused, Rachel. Sorry. My apologies. Craig, would you rather have FSG for the next 10 years or Qatari owners, let's say, like state championship type owners, like any? I don't want anyone state back money owning a football club. I don't care who owns Liverpool from the point of view of I've nothing against any particular part of the world for anybody to come and buy the football club. If you're a private business person or an investment fund, I just don't want state backed money or state backed ownership in football, and that definitely does apply to Liverpool. Right, let's check in this poll. Do you think the English media should push back against the Madrid stories? And so far, 79% say yes, 21% say no. We'll leave it running a little bit longer. So I'm going to bring this up and deal with it, because I feel like it's a valid point he's trying to make, and I want to answer it. So mods, leave this James super chat in, because I want to bring this up. You've already deleted it. I'm going to read it off here anyway. Stop reading news from the mainstream media. Your sources are terrible. Well, firstly, let me just say, you haven't got a clue who my sources are or aren't. And I don't believe everything we talk about. You're one of these people that seems to think that I believe every story that we bring to the channel and talk about. I don't. We use them as jumping off points for a conversation, which is my job to do. But with regards to my sources, you know shit about me, bro. You don't know who I talk to, who I have in my little black book, who I'm in communication with, you know diddly squat about me. And you say it's spreading manure. It's talking, what would you like me to do? Stick my fingers in my ears and just make everything like how everything's great and the club is being run really well and the owners are doing a tremendous job and we should be in this situation? So look, I get it. You're upset. You're angry. Maybe you don't like me, James. All that's fair enough. But you don't get to make assumptions about who I am, what I know, or what I'm about. That I will stand my ground on. But it is your life, mate. And what I would say to you as well is, I don't ask you to come in here, mate. I don't drag anybody in to watch the streams. I don't make people click on the videos. You do that of your own free will. And if you do it just to be angry and just to have a pop at someone, you should probably look at getting better hobbies or maybe doing something that makes you a little bit happier. Because if you don't like me, it's easier to stay clear of me, bro. Do you get me? Like, it's easy to stay clear of me. I don't force you in here. But what you can't do is, you can't come in and tell me how to use my platform. Because I'm afraid, mate, I decide how that's done. So, anyway, we move. But you're entitled to your point. But you just don't know anything about me. And that's the thing. Here's a suggestion, though, real quick. One last one, James. Sorry. Why don't you go and have a crack at the journalists who write the stories rather than me who just talks about them? You know, I am writing these pieces. Like, I don't have a Craig Houlden blog where I sit here and talk about these stories. So, you know. But what I get really from that is that you're at least acknowledging that I have an influence. And I'll take that, mate. I'll take that. What's your opinion on Trent's goal celebration versus West Ham? I personally think he's very arrogant and had his head turned. It's difficult because you look at it, Jordan, and you can see what you want to see with it, right? You can look at it and see him telling us to shut up. You can look at it and see him telling people to stop listening to the media or telling the media to stop talking. And that's the problem. Is that it is open to interpretation and we don't know, and that's what's causing a lot of frustration amongst fans, and certainly from me anyway. I will admit I'm frustrated by it all. But something that was written the other day wound me up, and it was that he came through the mix zone, and I think it was the time where Mo was speaking, and he walked past and somebody said to him, what was the celebration about? And he just gave them a wry smile and walked on. These are instances that I think you have an opportunity to nip some of this stuff in the bud. Because if he had turned around there and said, it was just about the media to stop talking, that wouldn't have given his hand away. It wouldn't have made his negotiating standpoint any different to the club or with Madrid or anybody else. It would have just been telling the media to stop talking when you don't know what's going on. But he chose not to do that. And that's what confuses me. Mark said, Trent did say he'll talk to the club out of respect for the club. It will be private and would not say more than that. But he's allowing the narrative to be driven, Mark. Do you get me? So, like, let's say somebody came out and said, right, how do I do this without me getting in trouble? Let's say somebody came out and said, I like to run around my local park backwards nude, and I didn't deny it, and this story was out there every day in newspapers and on column inches. Craig loves to run backwards naked around the park drinking a sparkly pink drink, and I didn't say anything about it, and I just, you know, came on here and did my streams and didn't acknowledge it. Or you probably feel like, oh shit, that must be true, there must be something to that. If Craig's not denying it, there must be something to it. That's kind of how I feel about this. I'm not somebody who believes in coincidences. And I'm cynical. So, yeah. He did say that, but things have shifted since then. And by the way, everything I said about him being a coward last night, I stand over. Let me just make that really clear. I'm not backtracking, and I won't be backtracking on any of that. I think Trent has acted cowardly through this process. That is my personal stance on it. And I think he has allowed the club to be put in a precarious position and the narrative to be driven by one side. That, I'm sorry, that isn't going to change. Craig, if you could sign on a player in January of your choice, who would it be? Probably Zubamendi. Or if not Zubamendi, then maybe I would go Antonio Silva, Benfica, for a centre-back, because I do think the arguments around us needing a centre-back have some validity to them now as well. Harry said, I don't believe the Marmouche no interest, Craig. Hope I'm right, would love Marmouche. Well, I know for a fact we've interest in Omar Marmouche. You know, I'm what that interest comes to, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we will make an offer, but I know 100% we absolutely do have an interest and are looking at Omar Marmouche. But you could apply that to 40, 50 forwards around Europe and, you know, it might not lead to an offer. That much, I don't know the answer to. Give Trent a break. He's earned the right to leave if he wants to. I don't think anyone said he doesn't have that right, mate. This is what confuses me about some fans. You're absolutely within your rights to come on and say, give Trent a break. He's earned the right to do what he wants to do. I won't push back on that because you're right. But also, we've earned the right as fans, having supported him and being emotionally invested in this, to have our say as well. You got to look at it in every which way. Because whatever happens in this, he's going to be a multi-millionaire. He's going to play football at a high level. And he's going to do stuff that most of us could never dream of because he's an intelligent, articulate and talented footballer. But we as fans get to have a say as well. Because you don't become an icon without the support of the match-going and overseas fans and every other set of fans who are entitled to an opinion. The LFC Reaper said, completely agree, he's acting like a snake. I've never said that, by the way. I've never said he's acting like a snake. I've never used that word, nor would I, because I wouldn't be that disrespectful. I just think he's been a coward. I chose my word very carefully there last night because I think honesty is the best policy in these scenarios. And how do I explain this best? If you think that he hasn't made his mind up, then I think your position will be different to mine from the point of view of you probably view this through different eyes to me. And if I thought he hadn't made his mind up yet, I genuinely would understand and I would sit here and think he's torn. But I feel like he has made his mind up because I can't see how it takes 6 months to make a decision on whether he wants to play football in England or Spain. You could knock that out in a few days, talking to your family, friends, loved ones and agent. I think you know what you want to do. And I also don't think you should be having to be talked into staying at your boyhood club if it really is your dream and your life ambition to captain the club. But again, we're all wired differently as human beings. Any injury news on Canade, Bradley and Gomez? I've heard nothing yet on Gomez. Which is a surprise, actually. I thought we may have heard something from a scan on him. Canade, you're going to just keep an eye on the training pitch, see if he trains this week, because you hope to have him there or thereabouts for the United game, because let's be honest, we need him. And Bradley, they reckon latter part of this month, from what I read, something on that earlier on today. Any idea where Liverpool might be in the summer for pre-season games? Yep, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, I think, that part of the world. I don't know if it's been 100% confirmed yet, but that is the reporting on it has been that Liverpool will be heading back to that part of the world for the pre-season. Don't know if they're going to go on to Australia and New Zealand or whatever, but I think Hong Kong, Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, around that part of the world, I think, somewhere around Asia. Rusba Said, it infuriates me that reports say Liverpool still have not given up hope of retaining Trent. Are you stupid? Move on and work on replacing him. The part that worries me is, Rusba, that, like you've rightly pointed out, but also the line from Melissa Reddy sticks in my head as well, to give Trent an offer worth considering. That confuses me, because I would think at this point we're at the nearly best offers point, you know, in these negotiations. You think at some point in any negotiation there has to be a deadline set and a best offer put forward, and a from either side, and a take it or leave it. So again, I don't know how this drags on and on and on and on and on with seemingly no movement closer to an agreement. What could be that complicated? Let's start off with, do you want to be here? And if the answer to that question is yes, cool, then you know you're at least in the right ballpark. Then you get to the money, and it ain't that difficult. You know, it might take weeks, a month, but to get into the right ballpark. Because let me ask you this. If he does go to Real Madrid, and if he has made his mind up, I guarantee it's not going to take them 6 months to sort a contract out for him. I fucking guarantee you that thing will be agreed and dealt with very quickly. So, again, why is it with us everything's a ball ache and dragged out? Well, I'd look to the owners again on that one. Tanya, how are you? Said, Salah and Virgil say what they want. Trent is... I don't know what you mean by the end of that. When you say nothing and keep quiet, you run the risk of this opening up. It is his prerogative to stay quiet. But he has to know it's hurting the fans. He has to know this situation that is now being played out in public, whether he likes it or not. Oh, you think Trent is off, Tanya? Sorry. Look, people are split on this, and that's understandable. You know, some fans look at it and want to think the best and look at it with optimistic eyes, and I don't want to have a go at those fans. Optimism's a lovely trait. Other fans like myself are a bit more cynical and look at it and don't believe everything's all skittle and champagne. What does David Lynch have to say? He's been away with family for a few days over the New Year, which is why he wasn't around the day after the West Ham game for a video. So I would never pester or bug somebody when they're on a break with their family, so I haven't spoken to him. Craig, do you think we already have a Trent replacement in the squad? Yes, Bradley. But in the same breath, if I'm being entirely honest, I don't think Bradley's the finished article yet. So, like, this is where, if I take off my blunt hat, this is where I can understand people saying keep him in the team till the end of the season. I don't agree with it, but I understand it, and I can't call anyone out for that, because I do, in the same breath, say Bradley is the successor, but he's not the finished article yet. Mike D83 CG Knight said, it's just time FSG went. They've always been a problem for our club. They shop at little but have billions in the bank. I think you'll struggle to find a prominent Liverpool account that is call the owners out more than me. I think my credentials on that are underlined at this point, and my thought process on them being cheap is pretty clear. They are cheap. And I don't know if I'll ever change on that unless we see a massive change from them. And that cheapness, to me, has cost us trophies. And what we have won, I believe we've won in spite of their cheapness, not because of their genius. Now, they've done great stuff as well. I'm not somebody who just criticises. I think they've done a lot of good stuff. They've commercialised the club and modernised it in a great way. Brought in so many more commercial partners, increased revenues, and gave us the ability as well to hang on to a lot of our top players for the best parts of their career. Trent aside at the moment, because we don't know how that plays out. So that is something that I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed not seeing Liverpool bullied by the likes of Madrid and Barcelona on occasion. I'll give them credit for standing up and keeping these guys at the club as well. But I think some of the players have been held on to a little bit too long, and we haven't replaced quick enough. Is this why he turned down a 6-year contract? I don't know of Trent turning down a 6-year contract, to be honest. So I can't speak to that, because I really don't know anything about it. Right, so we'll close this poll down. If you have any ideas for a poll you'd like to see, by the way, please do throw it into the chat and let me know. So we did ask, do you think the English media should push back against Madrid stories? 77% of those that voted said yes, 23% said no. And thank you to everyone that took part. Ricky said, apparently Diaz has less than 2 years of his contract left. That's not true, Ricky. I can tell you for a fact that's not true. Diaz has 2.5 years left on his contract. He has a contract that runs to the end, to the last day of June in 2027. So I'm not saying we shouldn't be looking to give him a new contract, because, you know, I think he is being underpaid for what he's doing, but he's got 2.5 years to go. Canada is the next priority when you're talking about time frames. Jan Hemming said, Mr. Lynch never calls them out. Again, I need to know who you mean them. If you're talking about the owners, I wouldn't expect them to. What you got to remember about David Lynch or James Pearce or David Ornstein or Chris Bascom or any of these guys is they may be Liverpool fans, but they're also professional journalists, and they have to do things in a professional and respectful manner. So they can't speak or write or talk from the same perspective as I can, because I'm a fan. I'm not a journalist. I don't have my media credentials or have to worry about not being allowed into a press conference or not getting my media credentials renewed. So that's the difference. I hope people understand that, because I can tell you, he has as much annoyance as all of us at the Trent contract situation, being allowed to get to this point. You won't find I think even I think Paul Joyce posted about it. He's an Everton fan, but he posted about it saying it feels like Liverpool took their eye off the ball with the contract situation with Trent. Mark Harding said, if we were struggling in the league, then who in the three would stay? Football for some players is about glory. If we were struggling in the league, I would absolutely understand Trent maybe going. Of course. You know, I didn't like Michael Owen doing it. I didn't like Steve McManaman doing it. But at least I could understand it, because they wanted to go and win a Champions League, or they wanted to go and win trophies. And Liverpool weren't in a position at that time that we could realistically dream about doing that on a regular basis. But that's not where we're at now. So that's why I think what makes this more confusing or hurtful is that he'd be walking out on a team potentially that are in a good spell and a trophy-laden spell. The LFC Reaper said, this hasn't been a great start for Richard Hughes. It hasn't. No, it hasn't. I don't know Richard Hughes. I don't know what he's tried to do or hasn't tried to do. All that we know for certain is that he hasn't, as of yet, negotiated the extensions. He didn't manage to convince Zubimendi to come. He did bring in Mamardashvili, and he did sign up Chiesa. That's all I can say for certain. I'm not really filled full of confidence in Richard Hughes at the minute, but probably fair to say we need a bigger sample size of his work before we can make a fair judgment. Orb said McManaman at least didn't go to United. Oh, there's no, don't even get me started on the old United stuff, mate. There's no excusing that whatsoever. Yeah, I can't even put up a defence for that. That was the height of stupidity for me. Especially if you ever wanted to be looked at in any way fondly by Liverpool fans. But maybe it doesn't matter to him, I don't know. But I think he said it does at times. It does hurt him. But he's got to understand it, right? He's got to understand that part, surely. But then we don't know the mandate he's working to. Well, let me say this to you. If I was Richard Hughes and I was in the job and I feel like I've been given an impossible task, or I've been given an unrealistic budget at which to try to apply these contract extensions, I'd be out the door and gone. Because it would be making me look bad. And if it was my fault that I was looking bad, fair enough. But if it is because I have my arms tied behind my back with what I'm allowed to offer, then you're being set up for failure. So they're either being empowered or not. So again, I don't know the answer. Have I heard about the Morgan Gibbs White rumours? I haven't, no. Ricky said, I'm a 40-year COP season ticket holder and up to this week was loving this season. The timing of this crap is a joke. Can I ask you a question, Ricky, then? Because, you know, I don't know who in the chat is a season ticket holder and who isn't. So you've identified yourself as one, Ricky. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask you a question. Have you noticed a shift in view towards Trent over this situation in the stand, in the COP? Have you noticed a change in tone from comments around you or from your mates, or, you know, how's it being perceived on the COP, I guess, is how I'm trying to ask this one, mate. Jack Taylor said, I think Bradley could suit the system better. I think, personally, my thought process would be, yes, under Arna, Bradley suits the system better. Under Klopp, I would say there was potential that Bradley wouldn't have maybe have been as impactful because of the way he had Trent playing in the position. But under Arna, I feel, yes, I would agree with you. I think, I'm not going to say he suit the system better, but I think Bradley's tailor-made for the system. If we're getting anyone from Forest, it'd be Milinkovic or Nico back, said Till Sheen. Positivity zone, in his defence, one pretty big, important man Hughes brought in is Arna. 100%. Absolutely agree. He was part of that conversation and part of bringing him in and identifying him. And that was a brilliant appointment. So Richard Hughes, 100% has credit in the bank on that one. Yeah. No argument on that. Yeah, he does. Of course he does. As does Edwards, as do the owners. They're identifying and targeting the right man spot on. And I've been behind that from day one, to be fair. Do I think Salah will leave? No, I don't. I think he really wants to be here. There's so much for Mo to achieve still. You know, if he leaves, it'll be because of the cheapness of the owners and not because he doesn't want to be here. I don't think Mo's going to be asking for 600 or 700 grand a week, like, so no, I would like to think that gets done. And Virgil, but then again, I can't make an argument as to why we're still here and they haven't been done. Keep an eye out for a response from our friend who's a season ticket holder. Just don't want to miss it in the chat. Craig was speaking to a journalist, and I can't say, he said expecting a centre back in midfield in January, but most likely midfielder. Good, Shannon. That's exactly what we need. So if that journalist said that to you, I'd be right behind that. Midfield, look, I'm not going to lie. I said all the way through. Sorry, I just can't shake this cold I've had for the last month. I don't want more than a midfielder in January. If we could bring in more, brilliant. But that to me is the bare minimum. We need that midfielder. James W said his current 4-year deal, Liverpool offered 6 years, premeditated. Ah. Look, I could also understand the perspective of, I don't think I'd sign a 6-year contract, because what looks good now might not look good in 6 years or 5 years or 4 years. I think 4 to 5 year contract extensions would be, if I was a player, what I'd look at. So, but look, I can't say whether it was premeditated or not, James, because I don't know. Ricky Norwood said, it won't take long for the fans to let this reach the player. At the moment, it's all rosy. But you know as well as me that this affects everything on the pitch. It will change. That's what I said earlier on. 1 or 2 bad results now, even if it's not down to Trent, and this conversation starts to become a lot more sinister, I think. Is it true that Madrid are after Maka as well? There was some talk about that, Eddie, for the future, but I don't think it's an imminent threat. At least I hope not. Liam said, Craig, I'm a match goer. The toxicity towards Trent will start now. Up until this point, I feel everyone was very on the fence and hoping he would stay, but this changes things. So Ricky also said, a lot of people I know still hope it's just all speculation, but think it's more than that. He's already gone down in my estimation. Again, these are match-going fans, and it tallies with what somebody else who's a match-going fan in my Discord group tells me that he's hearing in and around him at the games he goes to as well. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this guy's in the main stand. Mervyn said, I won game United's on my birthday, can't wait for it. Well, happy birthday, bro, and I hope you get the win. What's the score in the Littler Aspinall game, by the way? If anybody is watching it in the background there, please do let me know. And also, we need 57 likes to get to 1,000. If you can, please do hit that like button for me. There's more than enough people in the chat that we can get it up over 1,000 likes. Sam said, Craig, our midfield could be Maka, Zubamendi and Ryan. Screw Trent, we can dominate every team with that midfield. 3-1 Littler, thank you. Nice. Incredible young darts player, by the way. I won't lie, I was up for Aspinall because of what he's been through with the dartitis and everything, but look, it's an exciting time in the darts world at the minute, and great to see Stephen Bunting as well, playing as well as he is, excuse me. Craig, what happens if Trent signs but we barely win anything in the next few seasons? I don't know. He's still going to be a multi-millionaire. I don't know how to answer that, mate, because it's a big hypothetical on top of a hypothetical. Would I take Frimpong? No. Wrong. Absolutely 100% wrong for the way we play and the system that we have. No. Great player, but just not in our system, so it wouldn't make any sense for us to sign him. Lee Rashford said, sorry Craig, I'm just joining now, but I know you previously said you would take 20 million for Trent. Do you still feel the same? Yes, I am. Now, again, I understand how people look at it differently. But for me, I take the 20 million for 2 reasons. Well, if we can get more, I'd want more. But it just comes down to a destabilising factor in the dressing room. And also, I wouldn't want somebody who doesn't want the best for the club long term. And I wouldn't want somebody who maybe won't give 100% if they have a back pain or a knee pain, or, you know, will they go in for a crunching tackle? There's just so many things psychologically about knowing that your future is elsewhere that would make me feel like I don't believe you can really give 100%. And then there's the question of what happens if we were to play Real Madrid in the knockout stages of the Champions League. So I would take the money, but again, I can appreciate how others wouldn't. 4-1 now. Thank you for the update. Cookie pie or cheesecake? Cheesecake. Will Trent get a farewell is a good question. I think... Yeah, it's a fair question. I think if Trent came out and was honest and, you know, was upfront about it, I think it'd certainly give him a better send-off than if he dragged it out, kept saying nothing, and the season was getting into February, March, April. I think it has more of a possibility for things to turn sour in that regard. But what's your prediction for the Man United game? I haven't made one yet because I'm struggling between arrogance and remembering last year. So yeah, not quite ready to make one just yet. You know, you'd imagine we beat them. We should be beating them fairly comfortably, but I thought that last year as well. Harry, how are you, bro? And again, thank you. Said, when Coutinho left, Oxlade-Chamberlain stepped up. I got the feeling when Trent leaves, Dom will reach world-class form. He can take set pieces and has wonderful striking and passing. I think it's fair to say we all just want this situation resolved, though, right? And that's the part that has us all frustrated. Who's my idol? I don't know if I have one. A real idol. Yeah, I don't know if I have one. I don't have anyone that inspires me that much to want to be exactly like them or anything. I think you take bits of lots of people in your life. You know, my wife, my father, some influential people who've helped me when I was, you know, growing up and becoming a man. You know, and so I don't know. I don't think I have one. Mr. Pixelated said, I've just joined, will Trent leave? I don't know the answer to that one, mate. I think the answer to that one is open to how you feel at the minute. I don't know whether he leaves or doesn't. I feel like he might. I feel like he will, but I don't know. Tony Shallow said, Michael Oliver will have a big say in the score against Manchester United. See, I don't know a fan base, many fan bases that these days are happy to see Michael Oliver. It used to be that many of us, myself included, thought he was probably the best the Premier League had to offer. But in recent years, some of the decisions we haven't gotten have certainly not really made me overly fond of Michael Oliver officiating, and I think United fans probably have their own valid reasons for it. So I certainly didn't look at the appointment for this game and think, oh, well, that's brilliant, that'll help us out. What's this? So then this coming in saying, Liverpool defender Reece Williams returns from a loan at Morecambe and is likely to be loaned back out again. He should just be sold or released at this point. Let's be honest. He's not going to make it at Liverpool, so why not just release him or try to get a fee for him? Stuart Atwell has been named as the referee for Liverpool's Carabao Cup semi-final first leg against Spurs, and Paul Tierney will be on VAR, so bit of an update there, and thank you, Mark, for sending that on. Am I doing dry January? I don't really drink, Ben, so dry January is just normal January for me, bro. I probably have a drink 2 or 3 times a year at most. Dino Thelian said, thank you for gifting a membership, mate. That's very kind of you. Craig, I think Trent are somewhere. Trent are? I don't know what you mean by that. Or somewhere else, I totally agree. Thank you for the YouTube advice. If you remember, I've passed 1,000 subscribers. Nice one. That's class, mate. Well in. That's a lovely milestone to hit. First 1,000. That's class. I remember my own. Well in. Here's to the next 1,000 and then the next 10,000. Crowman said, if Trent goes and has a couple of bad games, Madrid, he'll be benched. Yes, I know. And turned on by the fan base over there. Sure, they were having a pop at Bellingham this season. The man who pretty much dragged them along with Vinicius last year to a Champions League. They were cry-arsing about him and booing him this season. So, it's a very unforgiving fan base, that Madrid one. Beto said, do you expect Liverpool to need a number of deals to compete for all titles? No. One, maybe two, and then you want to have a bit of luck with injuries as well. Injuries will have a big part to play in this. And also, one more thing to take into account is Arsenal won today, right? But they play again before we play on the Sunday. So Arsenal could be within 3 points of us. Now, we will have 2 games in hand. But, you know, keep an eye on these things because it's a big part in how the ebb and flow of a league title goes, is who gets the points in first, how short the gap gets closed down to, even if there's games in hand. It's an interesting experiment in looking at the psychology of fans watching this, because it will be right. They could be within 3 points of us when we kick off against United, but we still do have 2 games in hand, and the odds are we probably pick up points in those games. Do I think it's possible to win the treble? Yes, I do. Yeah. I want the 2 big ones. Champions League, Premier League, and after that's a bonus, but we'll wait and see. What do you make of Trent and Bellingham sharing the same celebration? That he's off to Real Madrid is what I make of it. The same way Bellingham left a few months later as well. Matt Denny said, Craig, had FSG done their business right, we shouldn't even be discussing contract extensions now. This shite would not happen at any other top club. Agreed. I agree. It's not a good look. It isn't. It's an unnecessary distraction, an unnecessary headache, an unnecessary everything. It's not a great professional look. It isn't. It's cheap. And I agree with you 100%, mate. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to go record a recap video. And I'm going to check my WhatsApp message to see if I have any other bits and pieces to add to the video. So keep an eye out for that one. Don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'll stream or if it'll be a day off. It'll probably be news dependent. So thank you to everyone that joined us tonight. Do hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you haven't before you head off. And hopefully we get some positive news in the next 24 hours or so. But until then, thank you for being here with us, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Much love. Bye-bye.